these diaries, from what you wrote in the book and from our conversations, I mean, I have the impression that maybe these are her greatest novel.
Yes, I think that's true for two reasons. First of all, the writing is visceral in the diaries in ways that it is not necessarily in her published novels, her published fiction and poetry. It's tough, it's mean, she reveals sides of herself. That's probably why I came to moments of not liking her, was because she was revealing herself, and perhaps if we all revealed ourselves, we would see sides of ourselves that we don't necessarily like. But at the same time, one felt that she was manipulating the information in the way that you do when you write a novel or when you write fiction. You don't just present reality as reality is. It isn't a kind of documentary event. And she, probably because she was a writer of fiction, or maybe because she knew precisely what she was doing and was working on her own posterity, you had the feeling that she was shaping the material and doing a pretty good job of it as well. And there's certainly evidence that she took notes and did not write up certain episodes of her life until a year or so later. So, but it's just only natural for a writer to have done that. But I wish her husband had kept diaries as well, because that might have been more revealing. But there aren't very many accounts of her. She provides the account. She describes herself, and that's what we're left with.
Gould had a similar tendency to try to control his self-presentation. In fact, again, I think there are certain similarities that you can observe here. Famously, he interviewed himself. He reviewed books about himself. He adopted these various personae where he tried to present different aspects of his thinking about what he was up to and who he was. And over time, I mean, these things which look on the surface like either college-level japes, heavily wrought humor, or desperate attempts to evade personal identity, become tragic. And I think this is the thing, that the element of tragedy in the difficult life, the life of the burden of consciousness, for me, anyway, he brings this out to a really fine edge, that what is it to be a person is a desperately difficult achievement day after day. And he was famously uncomfortable in his skin, but because of that, actually, he becomes an object lesson for all of us in just what the stakes are of being a person. And I think writing biography is all about that. We tell a story of a life, and every story has a shape and a structure. And the structure, in a way, is a kind of avoidance ritual to confront the utter contingency of making it up every moment of every day.
Exactly, because one experiences the whole notion of how painful it is to be alive. And it's something that we don't normally admit to in our own daily lives, because we have to get through them somehow. And it is, after all, a daily life, and therefore somehow ordinary just because of its dailiness. However, when you look at somebody else's daily life, then you start to understand kind of the visceral pain that is there just as a result of being awake. And particularly with, perhaps, I'm not sure about Mr. Levesque, but certainly with the two people that we're discussing, they were both so kind of vividly alive in some way or another, or awake in some way or another in a painful way, rather than necessarily for them a positive way, though it may have ended up being positive for the rest of the world. That it brings that to your mind in a way. Like, how do people achieve a complete life? It's really quite an accomplishment when you think about it.